Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I'm David Rodriguez. The Sega Genesis / Mega Drive had some of the absolute best games of the 16-bit era. But if you're like me, you occasionally bought one that didn't quite live up to expectations, or honestly was just straight trash. So here are 5 games where I felt like I made a big mistake in getting them.
Sword of Soan, Electronic Arts 1990.
It may be hard to tell when you look at it in motion, but when you saw Sword of Sodan's pictures in magazines or on the back of the box, it looked so incredibly realistic. And on top of that, incredibly gory. I was so excited to try this game. I wanted it more than anything. I almost never saw it in person. Then one year, finally, I got it for Christmas, and I was thrilled. I was over the moon about it. And I put that cartridge in, and then I played it. So all you're doing in this game is going from left to right, and various bad guys will come at you from both sides, and you have to chop them down with your sword until you finally reach the end of the level. There's nothing really especially tricky about it, except for the fact that there's not really a great way to avoid their attacks. And the collision detection is also really terrible. You can hit them, nothing might happen, maybe it will if they're really up close on top of you. They can't seem to hit you most of the time, and you can't hit them either. It's like you're hugging too much to possibly hurt each other. It's awful. So you have these various soldier guys. Some of them might have axes or swords. Some of them have spears, but they all act pretty much the same. You can jump around if you want to, but you don't have a jump attack. It doesn't really do you any good. There's potions you can pick up that you have to pause to pick which one you want to drink, and you can drink them. You can even pick more than one and mix them and just see what the potion does, which sounds cool, but I'd really just rather know what it does right away. There's no depth in the playfield. You're just going straight across a line, and that's about it. Eventually you have to fight these zombies, and the zombies projectile vomit at you, which hurts, but sometimes when you kill them, they turn into this stream of little sparklies that zip around and also hurt you for some reason. No idea why. Oh yeah, and then there's this thing, which maybe you see them later in the game, but I can't get far enough to tell you, and you'll see why soon enough. You have these giants here that show up, coming at you from both sides, and with them you just have to hit them enough that they kneel down, and then you have to do your overhead swing to chop off their heads. By the way, the overhead swing is the only thing that will hit them. No matter how many times you see your sword pass through parts of their body, that doesn't hurt them at all. You have to do the overhead swing, chopping at their lower midsection until finally they give up, and you have to hack off their big, stupid heads. Or you can just drink the potion that kills the nearest thing to you, and that'll make them at least kneel so you can chop off their heads, but you better do it fast, otherwise they're going to pop right back up. They're not exactly hard, they're just sort of annoying. Sometimes you have traps that spring up, like these spikes. Luckily, it's pretty easy to figure out their pattern, but because you can bounce back pretty easily when getting hit, it's also easy to get stabbed by them over and over again. The bad guys, of course, never get stabbed by them, and they tend to get hung up on them, like they can't pass them even though the trap hasn't been sprung yet, which is sort of stupid and annoying because you can end up swinging at them, and they never get any closer. But this isn't even the worst example of that. The worst example is what comes at what I like to call the end of the game, because I don't think it's possible to get past it. Here I've gone into this castle, and I'm walking along, and oh look, a trap that you had no way to see. You fall down to your death. I can kind of see now that I've fallen down there that there's another one just a little bit away, so I'll have to avoid that. Oh, but wait, I can't, because here are those giant guys again. Well, no problem. I'll just simply hit them from the other side of the trap door since they won't come across it. Oh look, even though my sword hits them, it doesn't actually do any damage. This is fantastic. I guess maybe I can jump over there and try to hit them, even though, a couple hits from them is going to knock me into the trap. Nope, that doesn't work. Obviously, I just get knocked into the trap. So this seems to be kind of impossible. I could take a potion, but that only knocks out one of them. And if I go over there then, the other one's just going to hit me back. So we have this standstill. I'm going to stand here on the side of this pit, and I'm going to swing my sword and do nothing. They're going to swing their clubs and maybe occasionally hit me, but none of us can do anything because the only thing I can do is jump into this stupid pit and die over and over and over again. A lot of people call this one of the worst video games in history, and I have to agree. This thing is absolutely painful. There's no music in this game to speak of, only the sound of birds and bugs. This game feels like the people who would go on to design Golden Axe whipped this up overnight to show to Sega as like a pitch for the game and promised them that they would add in the fun later. To be honest, this is by far the worst Christmas gift I ever got, and I once got chicken pox on Christmas. That was far better than this. At least that got me out of school and I could do things that were kind of fun. You can't do anything else fun while you're playing this game, and it's far more painful than scratching your chicken pox. Avoid it at all costs. Don't even play it to see if it's like funny how bad it is. It's just awful.
The Lion King, Virgin Interactive Entertainment, 1994.
Sometimes you don't want a massive challenge, so what better game could there possibly be than one based on a popular Disney movie that kids love? I mean, you want a little bit of challenge, sure, and this will probably give that to you, right? But it won't overwhelm you, it won't be frustrating, it'll be just fine. I mean, look how this starts out. The animation's really pretty. It's pretty basic platforming. There's all sorts of little things to collect. There's various kinds of creatures that you have to jump on to defeat. Simple stuff. I mean, the jumping's a little imprecise, but that's okay. I mean, it's Lion King. It's pretty fantastic. I can't wait till I get past this level and see what comes next. Oh, look, all kinds of new animals. There's monkeys and giraffes and hippos. That's really fun. Oh, you can grab onto parts of the hippos. That's great. And jump on the giraffes' heads. Of course, they're going to tilt their heads up and you could fall easily if you don't keep moving, but that's pretty normal stuff. It's all pretty easy. So there's two kinds of jumps in this game. There's one where you're going from a total standstill, and one's where you're running. Of course, the running goes further, but not as high, and that's great, except for you have to do these run jumps off these tiny, tiny platforms, and it's really easy to not actually do enough running to count as a run jump. So that's frustrating, but I guess you could probably get used to the jumping over time, and I'm sure there's nothing really more frustrating than that. Oh, good, I'm riding, what is that, an ostrich? Fantastic. I'm sure there's not tons of precise jumps as I'm going at a really high speed, and that would be sort of strange. Okay, so that's not going very well. Maybe I'll do a save state and we'll just we'll try this again. This is very precise jumping. I have this on easy. This is infuriating, actually. And not only is this hard, but the way you interact with the other animals isn't exactly consistent either. Like, some of them you can jump right through their bodies. Some of them you can't. I thought I could jump across a river, but I can't jump through a giraffe's body, but I can jump through a hippo's body. What is this nonsense? Who is this game for? This game is so maddeningly frustrating, and with so many difficult, like, cheap deaths if you don't have the level completely, perfectly memorized, that I just don't understand why this is a game based on a Disney movie. I mean, it looks so beautiful, it should be great, but God, it does not give you the experience you think you're going to get. It gives you one of the more trying games I've ever played. It's kind of reminiscent of Battletoads, where you're riding those little speeder or whatever they are. It's horrible. This is a game that you should kind of go in sort of knowing what to expect, and instead of getting this nice peaceful ride, you end up having to do these absurdly difficult, precise jumps, and it's just too hard to be fun. Lion King was a major disappointment.
The Immortal, Electronic Arts, 1991.
Have you ever hoped that on the Sega Genesis there was a game kind of like Diablo, but much slower, much grainier, and with a battle system that feels like an early alpha version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? Then the Immortal might just be the game for you. This game looks so promising. It's another one of those games where when you see the battle pictures on the back of the box or in a magazine, it looks incredible. And I'll be honest, the battles do look pretty good even on the screen, and those death scenes are actually, they're pretty awesome. But let's talk about that battle system. You can kind of duck, and you can swing your sword, and you have spells you can cast, but it's all done in this sort of like rhythmic fighting thing where it's hard to tell when you should duck because they don't give you the same kind of cues as one of your opponent fighters might have in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, for instance. You just have to kind of hope. I guess you could probably get the hang of each of the bad guys and figure out exactly when you need to duck, but it barely even looks like you're ducking when you do, so honestly, I'm not even sure if I'm getting the job done. Most of the time, I just keep swiping at the bad guy until they eventually die. in a spectacular fashion. This game is absolutely loaded with traps too, or things that just kill you arbitrarily. Like I found some spores and you're apparently supposed to plant them, and I planted them in the dirt, and as soon as I did, it absolutely just murdered me. I just died instantly. It was really stupid. And you could fall into these pit traps, and sometimes you're supposed to be able to tap up 3 times to get out of them, and I've yet to see that work. Maybe there's a certain rhythm you have to do it, but it's not really obvious. Did I mention this game is really slow? It just feels like you're creeping along oh so slowly through this dungeon and you're never going to get anywhere. Maybe it's just because you're apparently this very elderly wizard, but oh my gosh, it's so methodical and repetitive and just not good. This game looks like it could be fantastic. Like, if they would have just done something different with the battle system, I think I could have forgiven the rest of the slowness. But with that hard or maybe even impossible to really master battle system, combined with the arbitrary deaths and traps and not a lot of ways to really heal yourself. I mean, you can sleep on these patches of hay if you want to, but you can't do that multiple times in a row. Like, you have to go and do other things for a while, which is really what you want to do, is wander around in this dungeon doing nothing as a little old man until you can go and take a nap again. That's what it feels like. It's like Little Old Man in a dungeon simulator, but with awesome deaths. It's almost cool. Of all these games, this is the one that I might still be willing to devote some time to. Maybe I can get a handle on this ridiculous fighting system, but God, it just could have been so much better. Another big disappointment.
Death Duel, Razorsoft 1992.
As a kid growing up in the 90s, almost nothing was cooler than big robots, except for maybe big monsters. And what's even cooler than big robots and big monsters? Big robots and big monsters. Death Duel looked amazing. You're in this crazy mech to battle these insane giant robots and monsters, and apparently you're in this world where all conflict between worlds or countries is based on these fights. So you're a champion for your people going against all sorts of other bizarre abominations. And that mech suit you're in looks really cool from the front and kind of dorky from the side, but that's okay because you get to go into this first-person combat with cover and everything. And let me tell you, at that time, this was almost unheard of. At least I hadn't heard of it anywhere. And it looked amazing. The bad guys had all these incredible animations, and you were just blasting away at them with all kinds of different weapons. It sounds fantastic. I mean, between levels, you could go and you could spend the money that you got battling on new weapons, more ammo, and repairs. It is a little weird that the company or country, whatever it is that you're fighting for, didn't chip in on this. Like, why am I funding your control over the system or whatever? It doesn't really. But nonetheless, it is kind of cool to be able to pick your own layout that way and have to make sure that you keep up on repairs and whatnot. But with that being said, that's sort of a bit of the problem with this game, is you kind of go from side to side shooting at your enemy and he's shooting at you, but it's hard to really know what's going to hit you or when you've even gotten hit. I'm not really aware that part of me is damaged as I'm playing the game. It doesn't really seem to matter. I guess I could eventually get utterly destroyed, but I haven't seen it happen yet. The only way I've lost these fights is by time running out. And that's going to be really common because each of these enemies you have to face has to be defeated in a certain way. They have certain weak spots that you don't know. You don't know them. And there's not a hint on how to beat them. Now, some of them I figured out purely by accident, but like this guy, I have no idea how to beat him. I've knocked off just about every part of this guy, and I cannot defeat this creature. And I run out of ammo or I run out of time before I can do that. And that's really, really annoying. If there wasn't a timer, this could be kind of cool. I mean, heck, if there wasn't ammo limits, but there was a little more action, a little more dodging, like if actually getting defeated was kind of a danger to you, like defeated by damage, this game could have actually been something really good. As it is, it's just kind of annoying. Like, can I use some of my money to get some like tips, some little hints on how to defeat the next enemy? That would be maybe kind of cool. Can I maybe like have parts of my robot suit get damaged and have it affect how I play so that I at least know that I'm taking this kind of damage? That would be cool too. But you don't have that here. You just kind of go back and forth, aiming at these things that move at random intervals. It's really hard to predict how they're going to go. And since you have to lead with your shots because they can move at any second, you're going to waste a lot of ammo that you didn't have to. Oh, this game had so much potential. It's almost cool. Like I almost enjoy it, but it just makes a few really big missteps and it just doesn't work out. And what's with this thing between where I have to qualify for the next round where I'm playing an exterminator or something? Why am I defeating like giant earthworms and beetles? Like, what is this? It's not even really like a bonus round. Like, you don't get anything special for it. You just have to beat a number of these things to move on. I mean, why? I already beat the last guy. What are we going to do? Give the planet to the bugs? That doesn't make any sense. I will say this, though. Death Duel Planet, or whatever it is, apparently is really quite cold despite there being no snow. Get this woman a jacket or something.
Fantasia, Sega 1991.
After the critical success of Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse, you would think Sega would want to make sure that whenever they did a Mickey Mouse game, they did it perfectly. They could make it such an incredible jump over each previous iteration and have this long-running series of games beloved by fans everywhere, and honestly, even elevating and making Mickey Mouse more relevant in a lot of kids' eyes. But instead, we got Disney's Fantasia. Now, Disney's Fantasia looks really good, a lot of stuff reminiscent of the movie, but dear God, the controls when you jump are so incredibly floaty. He flies so high and moves just oddly when you jump that it's hard to land where you need to, which might be fine in a game where a lot of precision jumps on fast-moving objects weren't absolutely vital to continue. But even in the first level, which is not actually the first level, by the way, this is supposed to be your sort of home base where you go to get to other levels. That little hub level has plenty of chances for you to die due to terrible controls. And you see all those things in the foreground? Those do nothing but lead to cheap deaths. You don't know exactly where your opponent is on the other side. So now, not only do you have to do a very precise jump to land on your opponent or get over your opponent, you also don't know where they are sometimes because of the stuff they put in the foreground, which again, looks really good, but really hampers gameplay. Some of the platforms you have to jump to in this game to avoid damage are so fast moving and small that even if this game controlled perfectly and had amazing jumps like a Mario game or Sonic the Hedgehog, it would still be really, really hard to accomplish it. Instead, you have this incredibly sloppy mess. This game will cause you more pain than the cost of a soda at Disneyland. I don't remember the last time I cussed so much playing a game as I did when playing this one. And I don't know if it's just that since I'm playing Mickey Mouse, it feels like it just shouldn't be this damn hard, but it just is. It's truly awful. And from what I understand, this game actually ruined the relationship between Sega and Disney. And to be honest, I can see why. This game is incredibly nice to look at, but incredibly painful to sit through. To be honest, kind of like the movie. Sorry, I said it. In my opinion, the people who designed Disney Fantasia can go Disney fan fuck themselves. So there you have it. 5 games on the Sega Genesis that I found tremendously disappointing. Do you have some of your own? I would love to hear about that in the comments. Also, there are plenty more disappointing games on the system. If you know of any you think I should check out for a future video, let me know about that. Or if you want me to cover an entirely different system with a list just like this, I can certainly do that too. Every system has disappointed me at some point or another. I can certainly come up with 5 for almost anyone you can name. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree or disagree with any of the ones I mentioned? Did you spend any of your money on these awful games? If so, I feel for you. I'm sorry. I hope you didn't get them as a Christmas present like I did with Sword of Sodan. At least we have better access to reviews now. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time I put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old. Bye. Hey, you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like it, share it, and click this button to subscribe. If you like that one, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
I cannot believe what I did in that one. Holy cow.
I can.
Of course you can. All right. Anyway, we'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.